Hello, Sharon Durbin Graves, Painting with Acrylics 101.com. Here today in my studio in frigid Kentucky. And we're talking about what it is you can paint on. There's all sorts of things that you can paint on. I'm going to show you a half a dozen or more, and let's get started with that. Okay, well, here we go. We're going to talk about if I paint in acrylics, and that's what I teach, and this is watercolor paper. It's 140 pounds, and there's 15 sheets in this pad, and it was $11.99. I don't remember where I bought it. Probably at a Hobby Lobby or something like that. I'm pretty sure I didn't buy it online. I buy a lot of art supplies online at dickblick.com or Jerry's Artorama. So that's a watercolor paper. I use that a lot to teach on and to learn on. If there's something I want to work on, I probably will tape that to a board. I will tape it all the way around with blue painter's tape, and so it doesn't buckle or warp. And so I use that a lot. Sometimes I'll get something that I just love, and so then you can mat it and frame it, and you know, whatever. And sometimes it's just a learning exercise. But I keep them all, I date them, and I make myself notes on them. Now, another thing that you can paint on is by Arches. This is much more of a premium thing. It's 100% cotton. These are 9 by 12 that I'm showing you, and it's 140 pounds as well. It is cold pressed, and so it's got a fair amount of tooth to it, and I really, really like that. So this Arches is, there's only 12 sheets here. It's heavy paper, and it's much more expensive. But I use this when I want to paint on paper. When I think I'm going to get something that I can mat and frame, and then I do. So I like to paint on this. I bought it as an experiment. I don't use it very often because it's pretty expensive. I think and I bought this quite a while ago, and I'm sure it was like $18 a pack for 12 sheets. So that's a little pricey, particularly for paper. Now here's another interesting kind of paper. This is Frederick's, and it's a canvas pad, and this is also a 9 by 12. And what I love about it is has all the tooth of canvas. It comes on a pack like paper, but it moves like fabric. Okay, you can't do this with paper. So now I would also tape this onto a board, tape it all the way around, paint on it, let it dry completely, and then I would take the tape off. And then you can mat this and frame it, and it really is. I wish you could see the tooth. It's like paperized canvas, because it's got all the weave that you have in canvas where the threads interlock and everything. This is a really fun thing to paint on, and this one had I think 10 sheets in it, and I have no recollection of how much I paid for this, but I've had it for quite a while, and it's by Frederick. You can get this at any art supply store, but it's a canvas pad, and so it's actual fabric that's on that pad. Now another thing that I paint on are these canvas covered panels. Okay, we'll look at it right. There you go. This is again another Frederick's product, and this is a 6 by 8. This is an 8 by 10. They come up to 12 by 20, 18 by 24, maybe even a 24 by 36. I don't know that I've ever bought one that big. I might have bought one that big once, and I broke it into, because I was learning how to paint rocks on it, and so I broke it into 4 areas, and it's a practice piece. But these, you can, paint these, you can frame them. You can't hang them on a wall like this painting is hung, because there's nothing to hang with, okay? But they're easily framed, and you can also, I sell them a lot. I put them in a plastic sleeve, and I sell them like that at art stores. I also paint on masonite. I buy this in a big sheet, and this is my pattern one. I buy these in a big sheet, like a 4x8 sheet, 4 foot by 8 foot sheet at Lowe's, Home Depot, something like that, and then bring it home. My husband cuts them out in 5x7s, 8x10s, and 11x14s, and I have a whole stack of them up there on my shelf up above. I also paint on, and this is a poplar plank. It's wood. Now you would have to give this at least 3 coats of gesso in order to paint on it. It is quite thin, so it could possibly warp, but again, it's another surface, very smooth. You're not going to fight the tooth that you will on canvas, and so for portrait work, or maybe even animals and things like that, would be really good on something like this. I might like it a little thicker than what this one is. And then the last thing I have to show you is a stretched canvas. Okay, so it's stretched across here. It's stapled all across the back. It has a wood frame. It's attached to a wood frame. And when you buy these in the store, they're supposed to already have like 3 coats of gesso on it, and I'm not sure they do. I don't mean any disrespect, but I always, of course, I tone my canvas, and I'm going to make a video about that in another week or two. It might even be later this week, on why and how to tone a canvas. But this is what they call a stretched canvas. Now, a gallery wrap canvas is similar to this, but it's thicker. It's usually at least 1.5 inches to 2 inches thick. Now, there are other things available that I don't have to show you here today. There is a cradled board, and it's a board, and it has a wide frame around it that's like 2 inches thick. But that's called a cradled board, and they are very fun to paint on, very smooth. You can sit them up. They can sit straight up on a shelf. You don't have to hang them. You can hang them, but it's very interesting that way. You can really paint with acrylic paint on just about anything. I have painted on wood. I painted on a wood trash can. I have a saw hanging up over my dining room wall that I painted on. It's a big hand saw. You can, if it's metal, plastic, wood, you might have to give it a coat of something for it to actually adhere to the surface. But there are very few things that you can't paint on. Now, as far as a fine art painting, as far as something, along this lines, I always recommend that you're on a canvas, that you're on a canvas panel, that you're on watercolor paper, something along those lines. But you can paint, I even paint on slate shingles, and I'm kind of famous in my area for painting on those, and so there's a lot of them out there. I've sold a ton of them. So at any rate, you can paint on just about anything. But as far as being a fine artist, you really want to paint on something that's going to hold up over time. Particularly like with watercolor paper or the canvas paper that I showed you, or the arches. Those are all good quality things. So you don't want to spend hours painting something and have painted it on cardboard or something, because foam core board, because it's not going to hold up over time. And so, when you practicing, learning, all of that is perfectly fine on that. But once you get to a point where you want to paint something really well, then you're going to want some canvas, some good papers, good masonite panels, cradled boards, things along those lines. So anyway, have a great day. If you enjoyed this, I sure would appreciate a thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel. I teach beginning painting fundamentals. A lot of times I am teaching how to get started, what to do, what you need to buy. I do a lot of product reviews, and I do a lot of classes on, not necessarily tutorials, but how to do this piece or that piece. And I do have some tutorials on my channel as well. So if you're a beginning painter, I want to be your friend. That's all I teach are beginners, because I had such a time in the beginning learning how to paint. And so I said if I ever got it, I'd share it with anybody I could. So here we are. So have a great day, and let's paint together real soon.